Yes, we're here. We're here. We're here. We're here. And we have somewhat prompted the questioning for the session today. So we are well comfortable in being able to share with you our perspectives of information that you are seeking from us. How can we help you with your first line of questioning?
That's great. Thank you very much for being here. Could we ask if you could do a body scan, please?
Mm-hmm.
The vessel.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she's wanting to know about the wrist and why it feels so achy. And we're saying she's done so much healing from it and releasing. It is new strengths that do feel like there is something wrong when in fact it is something healing. And so she's learning and holding on to things with new capacity now. And so if she ever had considered going to the gym to get new muscles, she would recognize that this is new strength of muscles. And so she doesn't need to worry or concern herself about something wrong. Everything is right. She needs to be gentle with her body, but you always need to be gentle with the body because you would not want to push vehicles more harder. You must be able to take full responsibility and gently grace your bodies. You have got such powerful minds that if you hold on to any tensions in your mindsets, if you have any problems or worries, you will translate that into density and tension within the bodies. You may be frustrated over one thing that is happening in your lives, but you punish your bodies as if your bodies had anything to do with it. And so we say release your bodies from your prison that you are holding on tight to it with. So we hope that explains it, and we can just remove the sensations of the growing pains and the strengthening pains for her, because it is distracting her from not focusing on things that she should be focusing on.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm sure she would very much appreciate that being released.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we have a question. John was wondering, when does she have her first walk-in?
Mm-hmm. We say 7. We see 7 years old, and it was not a full walk-in situation. It was an addition, and it was a being who had come to be curious of this planet, and had got not stuck here, because we do not stick souls here as a form of punishment. But this being was very curious. And so when it had its mishap and it had ended its life here, as what you could consider a ghost, it wanted to embody a body without actually being fully born and die in a cycle. So it was agreed upon through the council that is overseeing this planet to be able to give it an opportunity to feel what it feels to be alive here. And so it was chosen. It did not die in the country she was in at all. So she didn't just walk into this entity or the soul essence while she was absent-minded. It doesn't work like that from our perspective at all, even though we know some people have these lazy assumptions that they are victims to these situations. In this situation, it was a match. And we could say with much love, a match made in heaven. And so this is an observing soul essence. But she is right. This is where she gained her fear of heights, because the accident that had taken that being's life, it was a fright of being suddenly aware that you have no gravity protection. And so when you come crashing down onto this planet, it gives you the fear of falling. And so this is accumulation of experiences she's had. We want to say that the soul essence walked out in dismay of how you treat each other and how you see and respect each other and the vibrations and density of this world. So we say that this soul essence walked out when she was 15. It had had enough. It absolutely had enough. And the mission that it was on, to explore and see what was happening, that information went back to its own galaxy, side of its galaxy. And that collective learned about such things as what is going on here on Earth. We do not need to protect the planet from these beings exploring, because it scared them so much that they did not want anything to do with Earth. And so when Joanne was sleeping, when she was younger, she would get this sense, this transformation sense, this hardness and softness, this moving in and out, as she knew the sense because it happened so often, just as she was drifting asleep. And she is saying this is when she was noticing that that soul essence was exploring more energetically what was happening on this planet. And so the years that it stayed here in observation did get enough supply of information to be able to confirm to its own collective how extraordinary, challenging and sad it is to be here on Earth.
That's wonderful, thank you. And can you confirm that that was a full walkout?
No, it was not a full, oh yes, the soul essence of what we would say is Joanne has been originally here the whole time, and she has had soul guest essences, shall you say. So when she was 7, that guest came in to observe the feelings and the range of emotions that's from that 7 to 15-year-old experienced. And so when that soul had had enough of experiencing the range of those emotions at that age, plus doing its own experiences, it fully walked out. But the Joanne's essences of her soul is still remaining. There has been additions, but not as many as she was wondering, but there are still soul essences that are within her, supporting her and going along with the ride. So yes, that soul essence is back, guiding its own planet and its own collective, and what we would say, what you would perceive as a galaxy far, far, far away.
That's wonderful, thank you very much. Joanne mentioned that she had a dream about being in a plane. Could you explain what that was about, please?
Your sound is cutting out.
Joanne had a dream about the fear of being in a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain what that was about?
That was the imprint of that soul essence walking in. They crash landed here. And so when the walk-in came in at 7, that's when she started developing the sense of heights, fear of heights, and the worry of heights. So it's accumulation of her being absent-minded with the body, but also the fear of that soul, knowing that falling can cause you quite trauma.
That's wonderful, thank you very much. And we have what else can we use our free will to get more support and awakening humanity, please?
You're asking what support we can give to awaken humanity?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sorry, your sound keeps cutting out. We say to keep supporting humanity at this fragile time, we must ask upon you again to be due diligent with your energy fields. There is no time truly for distractions. And this is why most of you are starting to feel so absent-minded with your daily chores and routines, because we're wanting to distract you from adding into density, and being so attuned to how much everyone else is transmuting their density. We are accelerating the vibrations of every individual, which is in indirect needs and requirements for humanity to raise its vibrations. We are doing it forcefully and manually versus them doing it organically and naturally. And so when you push something to a higher frequency against its will because it is stubborn or because it is not able to even recognize that it is an energy frequency, we are forcing and triggering to push energy fields up. And so when that occurs, there is a natural resistance and a density purge. There is so much density being purged out because it cannot keep holding it. You cannot be high frequency vibrations and hold on to density. You cannot have that duality in true essence of energy. And so we are saying, do not feel into that density. It is not your density to own or to hold on to. It is merely there that has been recycled and released. And so many light workers, many energy hold bearers can feel this density that is all around them. But we're saying, trust that it's been purged, it's shedded. It is shedded, a discarded density energy that is no longer on those people that it once was on, but it's still energetically around you. It is like the flame that you light. You can see the smoke that arises from the flame. That density of smoke will go down into density, and gravity will take a hold. We are saying that the flame burns bright, but the density of that smoke needs to be transmuted. We are working to remove that density and place it deep within the core of this planet, to be able to just keep it within the planet, and sort of store it in the vehicle versus out in your energy fields. The density is merely a skin that's over this planet, shall we say. It's not so surface deep. So we're trying to transmute it deeper, and this is why we say ground. But we're saying, don't just think about putting your feet on the ground. We're saying drive that energy down deeper and beyond the surface, and put it away, bury it. We're asking people to put their, if they're feeling the density and the tension, imagine but digging a hole. It doesn't have to be in the dirt, it could be in the sand. Or imagine that you're putting your whole body and immerging it in water, knowing that you're being washed and cleansed from that density, and the water will transmute that away. There's so many really important things that you need to do to be able to ground yourselves at this important time.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. That's a great thing to know. Much. We have another question. I want to know who else would like to such humanity.
Your speaker still is cutting out, but we're guessing that this is the question about, is there anyone else that would like to speak for humanity to be able to encourage and inspire it to be motivated to do its inner work and to empower itself through and beyond?
Yes, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, we see Angela Mayhew coming forward with glee. We see Louise Hay coming forward with glee. We see Wayne Dyer coming forward with glee. We see Dolores Cannon coming forward with glee. We see a whole bunch of what you would already label as being beautiful humanitarians that love and adore humanity so deeply. And they are saying, with great courage and great conviction and great focus, you can help humanity in the most powerful ways. But you must be able to believe in yourself. You must be able to trust yourself. You must be able to accept your role here and the purpose of why you are here. And to have faith in yourself more than ever before. And trusting that your energy counts. Your inner work counts. Your demeanor and attitude counts. And if you are not able to motivate yourself, to love yourself, to empower yourself, how can you think that this could be helpful for humanity? We have all given you profound perspectives to be able to empower yourselves. And many of you know our work and you take it as a suggestion. And we would ask for you all to take and apply our work, apply our messages of love, apply yourselves.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Absolutely, we all need to do that. So, mindset
We could not hear you, but we are questioning that this is the question about the mindsets in 3D not being able to understand or trust what the fifth dimension reality and shift is going to be. Is this correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the reason why the third dimensional mindsets cannot fathom other existences off planets in true totality is because it is limited and blocked on purpose to be able to focus on the 3D. Focusing on the 3D lives is significant because it's about managing the emotions, experiencing the full range of emotions, and being triggered so deeply to still be able to find your way back to love, finding your way back to self. And so this is the primary directive that many have on their life contracts. But as we knew always, that there were going to be beings who had already mastered that and wanted more missions and more purpose and to be able to be of more of service. And so we have given those beings the opportunity to start understanding what's next to come and why they are here. And as we know from their own life contracts, when they signed up to be here, the events have actually changed within themselves as well. And so we have had to modify many soul contracts to be able to fit into the changing of what is going on here. We say the decline of this planet is rapid, and this is when it is the most dangerous in some regards. And so we have got much more support here. So while we are worrying and focusing and planning and supporting the shift that's coming, we are saying many people are still not able to do their own inner work to feel the full range of emotions. Some of them are feeling certain emotions, but they can't be honest with themselves, let alone with others, to be able to recognize and understand what the significance of certain emotions is. All is experiences. But when you're wanting to only focus on the darkness and the density and the tragedies and the painful emotions, you cannot possibly be able to raise your frequency vibrations because you're addicted. You're addicted to the density and the dramas that is going on this planet. And so you can't evolve yourself as much as we would like to because you keep getting distracted. And there is many things to be distracted with. And that's sort of the problem with humanity. It's addicted to distractions. It's addicted to drama. It's addicted to panic, addicted to worry, addicted to fear, addicted to lack, addicted to disbelief, addicted to distrusting, but while also blindly trusting others. And so there is a problem because humanity in general, humans in general, don't trust themselves because they know they can't even be honest with themselves. And so they often will distrust others while also blindly believing others who seem to be in an authoritarian or a influential role. And so there is much to be said about that. And so this is why some people even struggle when they have their own sessions and connect in with us and we tell them as it is, because it's just too hard for them to fathom because they need every individual detail to be able to understand what is coming and why. And so there is a lot to be said. And so when they can't see what's coming because their days and their routines look almost sort of normal. They're not fully being honest with themselves and seeing the rest of the world as it is. They haven't acknowledged the density that is around them and how other people are truly feeling, including themselves. And so there is much distractions to be able to keep them preoccupied in the 3D. So when they start thinking about the 5D and the experience potentially that they're going to have on the new earth, while they struggle to be here in full honesty, this is what they're mostly used to. And so for them to fully jump and accept into a full different reality where they will be different in every way possible scares them, because what if that difference of every way possible is much worse than being here? They can't fathom true awesomeness of what a high frequency vibration within your own essence feels like. Again, they're so dense, and they've had so many layers upon layers upon layers of lifetimes to densify them, that they can't even fathom. And even when they get told that this is coming, they don't even recognize what true joy feels like or what true hope feels like. And so it's too overwhelming for them to even consider, because they're still holding on to a lot of density. And at a core value, they all think potentially they're not worthy of this experience, to go to somewhere that seems so idyllic and so empowering. There is much to be said here. So we understand, but we also understand that there is a small few that have listened to what we have been telling them through their dreams, through their intuition, and through their own sessions. And we know that those people have stopped the battle of denial, and they accept that they can't change what is coming, but emotionally and physically they can be paired to be able to have their inner peace, to know that they are playing the role. And when the role is needed because the things are coming, they will understand in their coming days, but not days as you count them, but in coming days, that they will be challenged to find their inner peace and balance, to still be able to be supportive to people, to love people, to help them understand that all is well. Life cycles of a planet and life cycles of people is quite a hard one to fathom, but when you are in the midst of mass destruction, you can be open to having such conversations potentially.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Another question we have, please, is can we ask the collective to remove any negative energy placed onto people from hurt people and clear the energy fields? And we were wondering if this will help people be able to vibe higher after this release.
Yes, it sort of seems unfortunate because as people are transmuting the density, that density sort of gets absorbed by others. And so we are putting a coat of protection over people's energy fields, so they don't accidentally absorb that density. We're realizing that can confuse the people to think that this is their own trauma, their own stresses, and it confuses them. And so then they don't know how to transmute it. They don't know how to ground themselves. And so we were trying to absorb in as much of that density into the soil, into the ground. So we ask anyone that is a light worker who wants to imagine collecting all this density and burying it deep in the ground with love and consideration for all of the lessons that it provided. But yes, we're wanting to clear the smoke, we're wanting to clear the fog, we're wanting to clear the density of energy enough so those individual beings can vibe a little bit higher and raise their frequencies without this clogging. So we are working on this, and we are grateful to be able to have this use of your free will to be able to help assist with this, because we do not want to breach free will, but we are using your free will to be able to help with this more. So the rule of non-interference doesn't apply here because that density no longer serves them. And so as all collectives, we know the rules of this planet. And so we are trying to help assist. But there are so many other things that are going on as each individual collective has their cases in front of us all, saying that they have their own demands or requirements of what their collectives must experience here on this planet. And so we are trying to make all of the requirements and demands of what humanity needs to experience take place and unfold. And so it is a fine balance. It is a well-scheduled experience, but we also are aware that too much, too soon can add too much trauma and density. So we're wanting to balance out the growth of the independent people's energy fields to be higher vibrational, and allow them to have this bliss for a bit, for them to get smaller doses of their own density to be able to transmute. We have also honored the request from the last private session that she had to be able to empower and trigger people into finding their spirituality purpose, and to want to seek out what is truly the meaning of life and what truly does happen in death, as many people are having to face potentially from illnesses and diseases earlier exit points that they did not consider. And this is why you're seeing much growth in cancer diagnoses now, and a lot of heart problems now. We are giving these people epiphanies and triggers to be able to consider very firmly and very personally, because humans do not want to consider other situations. They don't seem to have empathy for other people's situations. It doesn't help them grow as much as if it happens to them. And so there's many, in quotation marks, sick people suddenly that are having to consider their life contracts, their life purpose, how long they get to live. And suddenly now, because it's so personal to them, because they're having these diagnoses, that they're wanting to seek out the meaning of life. Also, they are scared, and so they are suddenly dropping all their small distractions, and they're starting to seize the day, starting to know who their friends are, what their families are, and they are wanting to seek out connections of humanity more than ever before, because suddenly for the first time in their entire lives, they are realizing life is precious. They are realizing that connections with others is important and significant, and they are realizing how distracted other people are in their usual routines when they've suddenly been given potentially months or years to live because of their new illness. And so everything is purposeful, as we have said, but it's these big epiphanies that are going to get many people's attention.
That's wonderful, thank you. So what else can we do to help release being from this density down here?
Be respectful for your own energy fields, sending love to everybody, trusting that we are doing as much as we can, and encouraging everyone else around you to really, does it matter at the end of the day? And when you do your life review, is this little problem going to be significant? We are wanting to get everyone to look at the perspectives of what they perceive to be struggles. At the end of your lives, there is really going to be a difference in your perspective of what you perceive as current struggles. We understand that many people are struggling because of financial changes or health changes. And when you'll have to exit these lives, you'll have to exit at some point, somehow. And so when you look at that and you look at your whole life experience, Some of the things that people are distracting themselves with today truly is not the bigger picture and perspectives of what they should be focusing on, but they love to get distracted. And so when you're talking to people who are obsessed about small details of small things, it's always helpful to get them to be reminded of the bigger perspectives and the biggest significances. In 5 years' time, is this problem really going to matter? We know that humans don't like change. And they certainly do not like change forced upon them. But when you remind them that potentially what this big worry is that they're dealing with today, how are you going to see it in a year's time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time? How will you perceive this? Every change and challenge is an opportunity to grow. And we would like you to be able to impress upon that. Even the most darkest, scariest days, when you experience things and then have the blessing of hindsight, you can see things from a bigger perspective. And this is definitely going to be the case when you're on the old earth and you are trying to understand the significance of so many exit points. And then when you have your own exit point and shift, you will suddenly be very well aware that this was all purposeful. And so it's about perspectives. But we understand that it is easy to accidentally dismiss people's current triggers. So you must listen to them, must respect them, must support them, but also must inspire them to think bigger perspectives.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. We have another question. Is it true that other beings off planet have come to Earth, including Adrenochrome, for harvesting?
They didn't harvest it. They were seeking test samples for what the whole body systems were doing. They were really understanding how the body works. And so we don't want to say that they were extracting the adrenal systems to have for personal use. As you harvest animals for personal use, there were some beings that were thinking that they could harvest some humans for personal use. But again, as we were saying, this is when the law of non-interference truly came into effect. This is much earlier on in your history. And yes, some mishaps did occur, but all purposeful for each individual being. And we want to say that karma was played here. The two people you saw, this is karma, the contracts. And they were fantastic explorers themselves and did such things to other creatures on other other planets. And so part of their own experience, being human, being in quotation marks abducted, was all very purposeful life contracts. But this was a big lesson for them, for their soul's journey, which all collectives learned and grew from.
Thank you. Is there anything else that we need to know about any of that? Anything more?
No. We are well aware of what goes on here. And while some things are not very pleasant at all, we can see all perspectives for this. And as you know, Earth is a school, a planet for lessons and experiences. And as you know, not all lessons and experiences are what you would perceive pleasant while you're experiencing them, but the lessons learned and grown from them are profound and significant.
Thank you so much. And is there any other message that we need to know, any messages for humanity that you would like to share with us?
All is well, and all will be great when every individual person knows the energy they wield, to know thyself, to know that when you are here to be of service, you are to be here of service. And so when you choose to hold on to density, when you choose to enjoy lack, you are not being of service. We understand you have the luxury of free will, but we want to remind everyone your purpose here. We say this with much love and respect for you to be able to understand at this important time, for this important planet, for these important experiences, you must be able to hold more light than density. This is crucial for your role in this.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Is there anything else that we need to know?
All is well.
Thank you.
Whew, my God, they were like screaming.
I know.